Dirt Trax is sponsored by Polaris, think outside. Can-Am, time for some off-road livin'. Yamaha, revs your heart. And by Kawasaki, let the good times roll.
Anybody involved in the photography or videography industry probably knows the name Peter McKinnon. He has a huge social media presence. He's a huge influencer as well within the industry. But one thing we found out here at Dirt Trax is that he's also a bit of a motorhead and off-road enthusiast. So he bought his first ATV thanks to a friend of his who gave him some advice. And he's also a fan of Dirt Trax TV. So he reached out to us after he bought his ATV and asked us if he could come up and ride with us and basically have us show him what his ATV is capable of and what off-roading is all about.
How about that bug spray? I forgot bug spray. Who forgets bug spray? Going into the woods for the day. Me.
So when Peter rolled into the Dirt Trax World Headquarters, he had with him Kirk, who is his videographer and editor, who works with him on a lot of his videos. And then he also had his friend Vito, who is basically the reason he got into riding off-road. When Peter was ready to buy his own ATV, he referenced Dirt Trax TV videos to figure out which one he wanted, and then went with Vito to a dealer and bought an ATV that just so happens to be the same one Vito has. So
this is it, man. It's like brand new. I've rode it, I don't know, like once or twice. So I figured, who are a good group of guys that I can really put this thing to work with? Didn't take much of a Google to figure that out. It was Dirt Trax, if you were wondering.
For our day ride with Peter, we wanted to take him out and show him some of our local trails, show him some technical stuff, some mud. Basically, I wanted to show him what his ATV is actually capable of.
Yeah, gonna get muddy.
But we also had a bunch of our crew from here at Dirt Trax. We had Mike Lester, AJ Lester, Cody Martin, and Vern Putzer as well. So we had basically the whole Dirt Trax crew ready to show Peter the best time that he's ever had off-road. From our head office here at Dirt Trax, it can't be a mile and a half up the road to get to the start of the trail. And the trail that we ride out of here is extremely diverse. It's pretty rough. There's rocky sections, water crossings. There's quite a bit of mud, but it was gonna be the perfect trail to give Peter a full understanding of what it means to ATV, but also what he can do with his ATV. And I think, right from the get-go, I got the impression like he wasn't 100% sure what an ATV could do. So AJ and I both kind of winked at each other like, let's show him exactly what his ATV can do. There's one particular spot on the trail that we were riding that's kind of famous actually for anyone who's watched Dirt Trax. It's where we take a lot of our mud-specific vehicles and get them either very stuck or very buried. And I knew AJ wanted to go there with Peter. I knew that AJ wanted to take our Outlander 570 XMR and just get it right up to the fenders. And so that's exactly what we did. And I was standing on the sidelines with Peter watching while AJ just took it in to the snorkels. And I could just see Peter's eyes open wide, like, this is awesome. We need to do this. However, he made the good decision, I'll say. It was a very smart decision not to take his ATV in the same hole. He didn't have quite enough equipment to make it through, but it was certainly fun watching him see live and in person what an ATV will chew through with very little effort. On our way to our trailside lunch stop, there's this cool sand pit, another kind of famous spot for anyone who watches Dirt Trax, where we take a lot of our vehicles, performance vehicles, and get them sideways, throw some sand around. So we thought we'd take Peter there and just show him, what it's like to climb a sand wall and throw some sand sideways in a corner. And we had, of course, Cody and AJ jumping ATVs off the side of the sand pit. Right next to that spot is a pretty cool field woods track where we take sport side-by-sides. And so first I asked Vito if he wanted to jump in with me and the KRX and go for a tour around this woods course that we've got. And I really wanted to show him just how hard you can ride a side-by-side. Vito was so blown away. When he got out, he was just like speechless. And of course, Peter saw that and had to jump in immediately. When I took him around that course, we were full throttle sideways as fast as that KRX could possibly go. And he was hooting and hollering, had his hands up, and was having the time of his life. Probably the next video you see of us with him, he'll be driving a side-by-side, I think.
You try not to let off. Oh my goodness. Dude, let's get those. Yeah, let's get those.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto. Make it work.
Right by the sand pit, there's this really cool water crossing, river crossing. It's a really beautiful spot. The water is deep, but not too deep, usually not too deep. So we took him down there and we were playing around in the water, having a blast. Peter was going through water that was deeper than he thought his ATV could handle. And then directly behind Peter, Cody thought he'd give him a perfect example of what water that's too deep looks like, and just buried his Polaris 570 right up to the handlebars.
Is it still running? No.
And that gave us an opportunity to show Peter what it looks like when you got to drain the water out of an ATV. So this was like all-encompassing ride for Peter. He got every lesson you might need.
That's not good. Young lads are hard on good equipment. What you should do is blame it on somebody like Peter, because then your dad can't say anything. Just say, he asked to ride my bike. Well,
In Rome.
we killed one bike.
Is it done? Like it's...
So if a bike starts to get too deep and you recognize that it's coming up too high, best thing to do is just shut it off.
Shut it off?
Because then it won't suck the water right into the top of the cylinder head, like right on top of the piston.
Yeah.
But he said he didn't turn it off.
It went down running.
Yeah, it went down running. So it's
Cody got on the phone with his dad, who promised not to kill him for burying the ATV, and he agreed to come pick it up with a trailer. So Cody hopped in with in one of the side-by-sides, and from the water crossing, we headed on to our lunch spot, which took us down a really fast section of road, and that was a lot of fun too, to get sideways and just have a good time. But we were all hungry at this point, so Vern had promised us epic trailside lunch with some sausages, and everybody was pretty excited at this point to see what Vern Putzer, the man who will eat anything, had brought along to feed us.
I think the first thing we'll do is wipe this lens off in the camera before I wipe you off too. We're from Ontario, and I was like, oh, brothers, they're from Canada. So obviously I reached out, and some years later,
happens to the best of us.
Yeah, it's just soupy.
The lunch stop was a perfect opportunity to really get to know Peter and Kirk and Vito and find out who they are, where their passions lie, why they're passionate about the things they are passionate about, and get to know them a little bit on a personal level.
We got some cabbage with some apples. And then I made a nice little banana pepper and relish. And then we got, my daughter made some yesterday for us to eat for dessert.
wow, I mean, like,
So-
come on.
That's living.
I wonder when I should tell him I'm a vegan. I'm not. For the vlog. Thanks for making all this, man.
Oh, my pleasure.
Afterwards, you know, we just bombed it back to the office, and I think that by the time this trip ended, Peter had become an ATVer. He was an ATV owner before, but he's an ATVer now. And I mean, I'd like to say that we can take a little bit of credit for that. A lot of it goes to Vito and Peter's natural talent, but I think we had something to do with it.
So I've rode trails before, and so I thought, until I came today. Most of the stuff I've ridden is straight paths through the forest. It's pretty calm, like a Sunday afternoon chill drive. This was not that. So a special thanks to the guys at Dirt Trax, bam, these guys right here, for hosting us today, taking us around, ripping us in all the cool toys. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad we're like neighbors. What? How did I not know this? This is the best. You won't be seeing the last of me.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Shock Strap. Start strapped, stay strapped.
When you ride off-road, flats are a way of life. Considering the junk you ride over, like jagged rocks, sharp roots, and hidden in the mud surprises, it's a wonder anybody ever makes it out and back without a flat. Compound this with the fact that ATVs and side-by-sides run extremely low tire pressures, and you get the perfect storm for flats, no matter how good the quality of your tires are. So what do? Do you carry a bunch of tire plugs and a repair kit along with a can of Flatproof every time you ride? You probably should, but most of us don't. There are a number of tire sealant products on the market right now, some okay and some not okay, that you can install inside your tire so that when the inevitable puncture does happen, the sealant is already there, theoretically ready to flow into the puncture hole and seal it while you're riding. The reason we say theoretically is because some products do a better job at this than others. You can break tire sealant products down into two categories: thicker viscosity gel-based ones that don't flow very well, and thinner viscosity, more free-flowing liquidy ones that do. In both these categories, there are products that have high-strength Aramid fibers, commonly known as Kevlar, which are mixed with the sealant. The idea is that the sealant acts like a carrier and takes the fibers right to the puncture, where they literally clog up the hole and seal the tire as it's rotating while you're riding. But what if you get a puncture and you don't have any tire sealant with you, or you haven't already pre-installed it? Realistically, about all you can do is tow your vehicle back to the shop and fix the flat. That's why it's definitely best to install the sealant before you leave. We have two types of tire sealants to show you today. Both have high-tech fibers in them mixed with either gel propellant or more liquid propellant. Just so you know, there are some tire sealant products on the market that don't include any fibrous material in their formulas. We're not even going to consider those ones today. We're going to look at ones that do include fibers in their formulas and let you decide which one will be best for you. First, let's look at the higher viscosity gel type with fibers mixed in. When you apply these thick gel formulations, it starts to flow around the inside of the tire, but you'll notice, while they do cover the puncture, particularly in the tread area, they both tend to clump up and frequently cause tire imbalance issues. Furthermore, if you already have a tire plug or two installed in your tire, or vice versa, need to install a tire plug, the gel propellants used in this type of sealant are not compatible with the adhesive used to install the plugs and will deteriorate it. Obviously, this will eventually cause another leak or even loss of a tire plug. We've also found these thick sealants don't cut it for sealing sidewall punctures and rim leaks. The second type of puncture sealant, the one we really like, TireJect, is much lower viscosity. It almost looks like milk when you're pouring it inside the tire. It's easy to see how this type of sealant completely coats the inside of the tire, including the sidewalls and the rim bead. TireJect uses a particle-based formula consisting of liquid rubber, high-strength Aramid fibers, and rubber particles that effortlessly flow everywhere inside the tire, coating the sidewalls, rim bead, and tread areas. In regards to tire plug compatibility, TireJect will not harm the adhesive and will even seal tighter around the plugs. What's better is that TireJect can seal punctures up to 3/8, making tire plugs almost non-essential. Another thing we've noticed about TireJect is how little of it you actually need to coat the inside of your tire. Depending on the size of your tires, you may need as little as 10 ounces per tire to get the job done. The gel-based sealants need at least 24 to 32 ounces per tire, and you can't reinstall those types of sealants once you've done it the first time. Once it's installed, there's so much of this gel material inside the tire that even months later, it's a real mess to clean up. If you happen to get another puncture, the old sealant won't fix. With TireJect, there's no messy cleanup. You can reinstall it every year, and if you upgrade your rims, the inside of the tires won't be full of messy goo. This is because there's less material present and it coats the inside of the tire more evenly. There's a metering chart and sealant-specific injector included when you buy TireJect, so you can quickly install the right amount through the tire's valve. It's super easy and you don't have to worry about having too much or too little sealant inside the tire. Just inject the sealant, reinstall the Schrader valve, and add air pressure. As the tire rotates, the compound moves around inside the tire, completely coating all surfaces. As a matter of fact, when you buy TireJect, you get more than enough sealant to do all 4 of your ATV or side-by-side tires without purchasing 4 separate containers like you have to do with other gel-based sealants. So what's our conclusion about tire sealant? We use this stuff around our shop a lot, and we've found liquid-based formulas like TireJect are the only ones that work reliably in all of our vehicles, including our trailers, tractors, cars, and trucks. Yes, there are other tire sealant products on the market, but there's so many reasons why TireJect is the best, there's really no point in using anything else.
Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by MBRP Performance Exhaust. Race inspired, trail proven.
I've said dozens of times that my favorite part about what I do is the people I get to meet and the new friends I get to make. Yes, of course, riding the coolest and newest side-by-sides and ATVs is definitely amazing, but it's the people that really make this sport so awesome. But you know what the truth is? Of all the people I've met and all the new friends I've made, my favorite people are still the ones waiting for me when I get home at the end of the day. Why do I love doing what I do? Family. I work with them and play with them. What more could you ask for? Enjoying the off-road lifestyle with your whole family really is better than it's ever been, thanks to an incredible list of 4-seat side-by-sides you now have to choose from. There really is a 4-seat side-by-side for any need or want, and today I get to test one of my favorites. Polaris's General XP4 Deluxe sits at the top of the General lineup. The XP in the name denotes its upgraded 64-inch width, 14 inches of suspension travel, and 13 inches of ground clearance thanks to a wider set of arched, high-clearance A-arms front and rear. The XP model also gets a high-output EPS system, a set of 30-inch Pro Armor Crawler XGF tires mounted to a set of 15-inch aluminum wheels, and a full set of Walker Evans Velocity Series shocks. Motor-wise, the General XP4 is motivated by the same 999cc dual overhead cam twin as the standard General. It's pushing 100 horsepower through a CD transmission to Polaris's on-demand shiftable 4x4 system that includes turf mode. I don't know about you, but when it's time for me to assemble the squad and head out for a day on the trails, there are a few things I need to consider before we even begin loading up. First, how can I make my passengers, in this case my wife and kids, as comfortable as possible? And second, how can I make sure they have the maximum amount of fun possible? These two questions are intrinsically linked. The answer to both of these questions starts with choosing the right side-by-side for the job. So, why do I choose Polaris's General XP4? Because its long travel suspension with arched lower arms and Velocity shock package give it an incredibly smooth ride. Not just smooth though, but plush as well. Smoothing out the roughest sections helps keep the family from feeling like they're being bounced around like pinballs. Its 64-inch width also creates an incredibly stable platform that helps give me and my crew a feeling of safety and confidence when things get off camber or speeds increase. The cabin and seating setup of the General XP4 Deluxe is also perfectly tailored to family rides no matter how big your kids grow, thanks to its bolstered high-back bucket seats, sturdy-feeling half doors, roomy footwells both front and back, spacious interior storage, and a full-length roof. A level 1 Rockford Fosgate stereo doesn't really hurt either. The interior of the General has a very automotive feel to it, and I think this is due in part to how high the sides of the doors and the hood are in relation to where you're sitting inside the vehicle. You feel like you're sitting down inside the vehicle well protected, much like you do when you're in an SUV. And in actuality, you are. The General does a stellar job of keeping you clean and protected from tree branches and other trail junk. The only downside is that it can be difficult for smaller passengers to see out of the vehicle once they're strapped down inside, but a booster seat can help with this in a big way. Being out on the trail for a full day with your whole family requires an abnormally large amount of support equipment. Coolers, camp chairs, cooking supplies, gear bags, it's all stuff you actually need, but many of today's 4-seat side-by-sides don't give you enough room to carry it. The General is a completely different story. Its full-size dumping cargo bed is as big as many utility side-by-sides. You'll have more than enough room to take all the stuff you need and a whole bunch of stuff you want and never feel crowded or overloaded. While Polaris's General XP4 Deluxe does seem like it has almost everything going for it, there are a few things you need to consider before you pick this as your family's off-road chariot. First, it's a 4-seat side-by-side with a full cargo bed, which is great, but to fit all this into one platform, that platform had to be extended, resulting in a very long wheelbase. Most people won't find this to be a huge burden, but if you ride where it's extra tight or ultra gnarly, it's definitely something you need to seriously consider. Second, 100 horsepower is more than enough for pretty much any situation your average rider is ever going to find themselves in. But if you're among the select few that do actually need more power, the General only has one motor option. Really though, those two things are all I have to gripe about. As parents, we would do anything to keep our kids both safe and happy. If off-roading is your thing, Polaris' General XP4 Deluxe has everything you need to create great family fun while making memories that will last a lifetime. If you enjoyed this segment, make sure you hit that like button and definitely consider leaving us some comments. We always appreciate hearing from our fans. Also, make sure you're subscribed because we have tons of new content coming up right here on Dirt Trax.